Good afternoon and welcome to NMS. This afternoon I want to talk to you about how much muscle you can actually gain in 1 year as a natural bodybuilder, both as a beginner, an intermediate and an advanced trainer. Okay. Now before I go on, expectations versus realities. The expectation is if you train for a certain period of time, you're going to get these muscle gains. The reality is that these are expectations based on if you are going and following a consistent sort of training regime, high intensity, appropriate programming, recovery, nutrition, and genetics. These things will work perfectly. Obviously, in an ideal world, this would be great, but in a less than ideal world, there is obviously limitations. Now, consistency means that you will go to the gym regularly every single week without missing workouts for at least 3 years. Intensity, assuming you train with good intensity always. Appropriate programming, that you follow an appropriate program based on your level, and obviously that program is based on progressing, so progressive resistance. Recovery, that you regularly get enough sleep and recovery days. Nutrition, that you eat a diet adequate in calories, protein, carbs and fats, and get all the essential vitamins and minerals, and it's a smart use of obviously supplements like protein supplements, etc. Okay, so genetics wise, results still rely on genetics. So if you've got very good genetics, obviously your results are going to be better than if you don't. Okay, the better the genetics, the faster the gains. But that's why I give sort of a ballpark figure of what you can expect in 1 year, okay, or per year. Okay, so let's have a look at this. And so what is a beginner? Anywhere from up to 6 to 12 months of proper training. The muscle gain rate of a beginner is around 1 to 1.5% of body weight per month. For an average male weighing 70 kilograms or 155 pounds roughly, that's about 0.7 to 1 kilogram or 1.5 to 2 pounds of lean muscle per month under optimal conditions. Now, as we said, optimal conditions, consistent, intense, proper programming, okay? Beginners experience what they call newbie gains. This is both neural adaptation and untrained muscle hypertrophy response. In other words, you've never done any sort of weight training before, and obviously now you're starting to do something that's a new stress, the muscles will respond. Now I'm going to add to this that those newbie gains change if you've already done a lot of other different sports and have already developed some muscle mass from doing that. So an intermediate level, with 1 to 3 years of consistent proper training, the muscle gain rate is about 0.5 to 1% of body weight per month. For an intermediate person weighing around 80 kilograms, that's about 0.4 to 0.8 kilograms per month, okay, or 0.8 to 1.6 pounds of lean muscle mass per month. Progress slows as the body adapts and approaches genetic limits, okay? So it's not saying you're at genetic limits, but obviously you've already put on some muscle and it's not newbie gains. Okay, now advanced 3+ years of consistent optimized training. The muscle gain rate is about 0.25 to 0.5% of body weight per month. For a 90 kilogram person, and that's assuming that you've already put on some more weight now, that's about 0.2 to 0.4 kilograms per month of lean muscle mass, okay? Gains are very slow because advanced lifters are close to their genetic ceiling. Now, these estimates are based on studies by Lyle McDonald, Alan Aragon, and studies on muscle protein synthesis rates. And the consensus is that the gains follow a diminishing returns curve. In other words, it goes up and then it starts to slow down, okay? So as you get bigger, your gains slow down, and also recovery and different aspects like that tend to like diminish. You don't recover as well. Now, what that basically means in summary is that a beginner can put on 8 to 12 kilograms of lean muscle mass in their first year, 4 to 6 kilograms per year in their second 2 to 3 years, and then gains are much slower after that, where an advanced person 3 years plus gets basically 1 to 3 kilograms per year or 2 to 6 pounds per year. Sometimes less, Okay, so in other words, you're fighting for more, and everything, the harder you train, the less the returns. It's not really a nice thing for natural bodybuilders to hear, but the majority of your gains come in the first 1 to 3 years. So what are the long-term natural limits of muscle gain? Research and coaching experience suggests that the average male lifter can gain between 18 and 22 kilograms of actual weight. Now, I don't know what mine was, but I can tell you this now that based on what my dad was, and he was a bit taller than me, he was about 60 kilograms when he started. He's about an inch shorter than me, or was. So I would probably be around maybe 55 to 57 kilograms. Now I weigh about 78, so I've probably put on at least that 22 kilograms. So I've at the top end, and I'm a lot leaner than I probably would be if I wasn't lifting weights. Okay. Now, an average female lifter, everything that I said to you there, pretty much cut it in half, and the total amount of weight that a female lifter can gain would, in terms of muscle mass, would be about somewhere between 9 and 11 kilograms. Okay, and every other measure would be slower. In other words, women, because of hormonal differences and muscle fiber variations, just don't put on muscle as quick. Okay, it's unfortunate, but males have, certain advantages in muscle gain. So the key principles supported by research. In the beginning, especially, training frequency per muscle group matters more than specific split. So beginners benefit from high frequency, full body style training. Intermediates and advanced lifters can distribute volume across more days using split workouts, and workload increases. Now, when you move someone from a full body split to a 2-day split, it really is one of those things that you're sort of going, okay, you've gone from sort of your beginner gains to you're starting to morph into intermediate gains. But if you've got someone who's already been an advanced athlete, you're probably going to go on and move them into a more advanced split quicker than someone who's never done anything in the past, okay, has been sedentary. Now, the best studied splits by experience levels. So, full body workouts, each muscle group is trained 2 to 3 times a week, okay? So maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Beginners need frequent practice for neuromuscular adaptation. In other words, learning both the actual, the exercise form, okay? They become more efficient at doing the movement, and also the total volume per muscle group is going to be low, so they have more time to recover. Now, a lot of this comes from a study by Rayer in 2003 at the American College of Sports Medicine. So generally, full body 2 to 3 times a week yields faster strength and hypertrophy gains. Okay, they suggest a workout of, say, squats, bench press, rows, overhead presses, deadlifts, curls, core. Now, being that this was a few years ago, when I've taken people through beginner, intermediate, and advanced, I've started them on machines, moved them into free weights, okay, started doing split workouts with them. And if someone was advancing quite quickly and they were finding that it was hard for them to get through a full body workout or even a 2-day split, we'd start advancing them into a 3-day split, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you now, okay, I have only ever had one person that I've ever trained put the amount of gains that this study is suggesting have actually made those gains, and that person listened to everything I said and started from a complete beginner level and followed the diet that I said, followed the training plans that I said to the letter, okay? So they got the gains that they were promised, and they also competed at the same time, okay? Now, intermediates, 1 to 3 years, best split is an upper-lower split or a PPL split, push-pull legs, okay? So for an upper-lower split, 4 days a week. For a PPL, 4 to 6 days per week. I never suggest 6 days per week, but according to some studies, they suggest up to 6 days per week. I also use, in my programming, an upper split and a leg split. And when I do that leg split, I do arms as part of that leg split. So it's upper and then legs and arms, okay? So upper and limbs. Each muscle is trained twice per week, but with more total sets. Okay, intermediates need more volume per muscle group. Okay, which is hard to fit into a single full body session. Splitting allows higher quality sets and recovery. Now, a lot of this comes from Schoenfield. Okay, Brad Schoenfield is a professor of sports science and does a lot of regular research on this sort of thing. And his 2016 meta-analysis showed that 2 times per week muscle group is superior to 1 times per week for hypertrophy at the intermediate level. Okay, so now an example 1 for an upper-lower split would be chest, back, shoulders, arms, and then day 2 would be quads, hamstrings, glutes, calves. And an example 2 for a 3-day split, push-pull legs would be chest, shoulders, triceps, back, biceps, quads, hamstrings, calves. Now, best studied splits by experience level for advanced trainers. What is the best split for more high volume? Generally a push-pull legs, okay, or a specialization split. So it depends on the person and whether they've sort of started to find recovery difficult. They may do everything twice a week. When I've worked with people, I've normally suggested that maybe at that point, not training everything twice a week, but more maybe every week and a half, and doing maybe a 4-day split may be better for them. Okay, you do still get the same amount of volume, right, or more volume, but you're also being able to sort of do more exercises for each body part per split. Okay, so with a PPL split, it's the same as was outlined for an intermediate. Okay, chest, shoulders, triceps, back, biceps, legs. And then with the specialization cycles, maybe you do a little bit more volume for one thing, a little bit less for another. Now, a split that I used to use was a chest and back, legs, and then shoulders and arms split. And that was very good for people who wanted to work their arms a little bit more because they weren't hindered by the fact that their shoulders were so sore. Their arms were sore from doing chest and shoulders. So advanced trainees generally need 10 to 20 sets per week, spread across 2 to 3 sessions. Now, what about bro splits? Now, a lot of people ask the question bro splits because I like bro splits. Personally, I do a 4-day split and I find it really good. I'm obviously been training for many years and, you know, I've put on a large amount of muscle mass, and I tend to find that my recovery is slower at the age of 50 than it was at the age of 40 and obviously at the age of 30. So I tend to find that if I train a 4-day split and I train everything once a week, I get my best results, but that doesn't mean it works for everyone. Okay, so advanced trainers, they can do these 4-day splits, okay, but based on research, it's not always considered optimal, okay, and evidence suggests that 2 times per week is superior. But like I said, they're looking at more sort of low, intermediate, advanced, all right? If you're looking at advanced, the intensity is frightening that you have to go and train with in order to build muscle, and sometimes you do need the extra day's rest. So if you do enjoy maybe a bro split, 4-day split, by all means, give it a go. It's actually very good for adherence. And obviously fatigue becomes a problem when you've got more than 2 body parts. So people like doing 2 muscle groups in one day. So it might be chest and triceps. And you can do a lot more volume in that workout, okay, for chest and triceps if you do that, okay, or for legs or whatever body parts you're training. So personally for me, I like bro splits at my level, but bro splits is something I don't like to put into people's programs unless I feel like it's actually necessary and they've also trained for a good period of time and I think it's going to enhance their level and be able to put on a little bit more muscle mass. Now, at my level, I'm fighting for 1 kilogram a year of muscle gain, but I've probably already gained upwards of 25 kilograms of solid muscle mass at the natural level. And obviously my workouts have to be a high intensity to be able to continue to build muscle. And sometimes legs can be sore for 4, 5, even 6 days after a leg workout. And that's even with, you know, moderate volume, you know, somewhere around the 10 set mark. So bro splits can be good, but I always suggest that if you're going to go and advance yourself from a beginner level to a more advanced level, don't try to speed it up too quick and go try to advance yourself too quick, because you'll miss a lot of those gains at the beginning. And just remember, guys, that I said at the beginning of this, that it's really important that, you know, consistency, intensity, recovery, which includes sleep, nutrition, genetics, all play a part in all this, okay? If you're not getting taking all those factors into account, minus genetics, you're probably not going to get the results you want out of it. And unfortunately, you're going to not maximize your muscle gains, okay? Obviously, as I've said, it's slower at the pointy end of it, okay? When you're putting on your maximum amount of muscle mass, okay, or maximizing your muscle mass gains, it gets a lot slower, okay? And we have to start to specialize our training a little bit to get those extra gains. So guys, I'm going to leave this video up. I'm going to put some pictures to it so you can obviously see it. And if you'd like to go and get the PDF, by all means, leave a message and I'll leave the PDF for you. Subscribe, like, comment, and help me build this channel, and I'll give a lot more really pertinent information for the young guys that are starting out in the gym, even young females. Thanks for listening, guys, and take it easy.